Hi, this afternoon we're going to be making almond toffee bars. This is a bar cookie that's made in a jelly roll pan. I don't know if you're familiar with this pan. It's called a jelly roll pan. It's like 10 by 15, but it's useful for very many things. Not only the roll, the cake roll that's more usually filled with whipped cream or buttercream than jelly, but also for a number of cookies that you can spread out and do on this. Or I use it to roast vegetables because it's got that little lip that will hold juice in if you're concerned about that. My rule, honestly, on tools is how much is it going to be? Am I really going to use it? And where am I going to store it? This very neatly goes between your 13 by 9 pans and your cookie sheet. And it really is a very useful pan. Again, referred to as a jelly roll pan. And we're going to start by creaming butter. And you know creaming is more than just stirring. It's a higher level on your mixer. You're going to get it really creamy. And this is starting with 2 sticks or 8 ounces of unsalted butter. So I'm going to start low. Then I'm going to bring it up higher. I'm going to be adding almond extract. And the interesting thing about these cookies, there's almonds on top and a little almond in the crust. And somehow after you eat one, you want to eat another. And I think it's the almond flavor that just sort of sticks with you, that just tastes really good. And adding it to butter, while it's still the creamy butter, extract seems to take hold better. So that's always a good idea. This is almond extract, comes in little bottles because you don't use very much of it very often. But if you're a baker, there's a good chance that you would use it. And I need 1 teaspoon of almond extract. And I'm going to put that into the butter. And as you can see, I'm going to take this off for a minute. That is quite creamy. That's not just mixing butter, that is quite creamy. And now we're going to add, as I said, a half a cup of confectioner sugar. If I'm going to use it for frosting, I always sift it first because I always find there's some little lumps. I don't usually do it if I'm going to put it right in the mixer because the mixer should take care of that. So I'm going to mix those two together. Now I'm going to add, what I've put in here is 2 cups of regular flour, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of baking powder. I no longer have a flour sifter. I haven't used one in years. I just use a regular strainer like this. Do it with a spoon, and then as it gets a little emptier, I just tap it on the side, and that seems to work fine. So we're going to combine these. I'm just going to do like a quick on and off to get those combined. I also think this would, I don't remember whether I've done it in my processor or not. If I do it in my processor, I do the opposite. I put the dry ingredients in first and then cut in the butter. But this really does call for the butter to be creamed, so I've probably always done it this way. And we're just going to do it until we get a nice mixture there. If you'll notice, this is a wonderful beater blade. There's a little rubber gasket here. They've come out with this a few years ago, and it means you have to scrape less often. So it's really good for that. So we'll come back when I'm ready to put it in the pan. The dough's ready. It's all mixed together. And now what I'm going to do is press it into this ungreased jelly roll pan. If you'll notice, I took my rings off because I have a habit of doing things with my hands and I have all sorts of gook in my rings. So it's really better if you're going to be doing something with your hands. First of all, I think I'll wash them again. That's a good idea. There. And now I'm going to press it in the pan. And we've talked about this before. It's better to do anything that's to be dropped in a pan like this in smaller globs and bring them together. It's easier than trying to put it all in the pan and then spread it out. You'll have a better, easier job this way. And it's not going to be a very thick base. And now, again, I'm just going to spread this out with my fingers. And the recipe says have a small lip a little on the side, and that is because it is going to get a topping, and they don't want that topping to run underneath that dough. But we're going to bake this. You see, I'm just moving it along. And we'll get the whole sheet covered, and then we'll continue. This is all ready to go in the oven. It's all pressed in the pan. You can see it comes up a little bit on the side. So we're going to put it in an oven at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes until we can see that it's done. Well, our crust is out of the oven, and as you can see, that's done. Now we're going to make the topping. And the topping is 1 cup of brown sugar. And remember, with brown sugar, you always pack it. Flour you always do lightly, but brown sugar you always pack. This is 1/3 of a cup, 2/3 of a stick, or 1/3 of a cup of butter, and 1/4 of a cup of milk. And we're going to cook that over a low heat until the sugar dissolves and the butter melts. Hi, you can see the mixture is melted and it's all ready to go. The sugar has dissolved, the butter has melted, and we're going to pour it over this base. And now you can see why we needed a little something on the side, because it's really thin. So I'm going to pour it and wish me luck. So I will just spread it a little bit where it didn't quite cover. I'll just go over. You can see it's very thin. And now we're going to pour a cup of sliced almonds on top. And these are the unblanched thin slice. A slivered really wouldn't work, I don't think, because they're just a little too thick. But this, the topping is going to keep those slices. So we're just going to spread it over. And we're going to put it in the broiler, which I now have to go and change from my oven setting to a broiler setting. And then you have to watch it very carefully. What you want to have happen is the nuts sort of brown, and the filling there will bubble up, but you don't want it to burn. And whenever you're doing something like this in the broiler, you really have to keep an eye on it. Don't walk away from it. Let's see, we go off, broil. And I have a hot. Okay, so now we're going to put that under the broiler, but I am going to watch it. I would say maybe 2-3 minutes, something like that. Not immediately, but so it's almost there. Here we are with our finished almond toffee cookies, and when they're cool, we'll cut them into bars. They are really good. This is from a King Arthur cookbook, their baking cookbook, and it's really tasty.